Thank you, sir. Good evening to everyone. This is a regular meeting of the Council of the Township of Montclair and is being broadcast live on TV 34 and is streaming live on the Montclair TV 34 YouTube channel. It is available on demand and can and will be rebroadcast. Would everyone please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States,
America.
Republic for which it stands,
one nation,
indivisible,
God,
liberty and justice for all.
justice for all.
Okay. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Counselor Cummings,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock,
Present.
Counselor Price Abrams,
Present.
Counselor Russo,
Present.
Counselor Schlager,
Here.
Counselor Yacovelis, Mayor Spiller.
Present. Thank you very much. Next, we have a number of proclamations. The first for Shirley William Davenport, but can I ask Councilman Cummings to read that, please? Councilman?
Mr. Mayor, thanks a lot. This is a real honor to read this proclamation for Mr. Davenport, who growing up in the Fourth Ward was a businessman that you knew very well. Seemed like the parking lot over by Lackawanna Plaza was his home base with his parking company that he started, and went to school with his son. And I had the honor of reading this at his funeral. So I'll start with Township of Montclair, New Jersey Proclamation in Memoriam Shirley William Davenport. Whereas the mayor and council of the Township of Montclair are saddened by the recent passing of Shirley William Davenport, retired letter carrier for the United States Postal Service, former president of the Montclair branch of the National Alliance of Postal Employees, the Montclair branch of the NAACP, member of the Montclair Volunteer Ambulance Unit, and a cherished resident of the Montclair community. And whereas Mr. Davenport was born on June 18th, 1935 in Cumberland County, Virginia. In 1960, after serving in the U.S. Army, he moved to Montclair, New Jersey. Upon Mr. Davenport's arrival to Montclair, he immediately became an active member of Bright Hope Baptist Church on Mission Street, where he met his loving wife, Letitia Davenport. At church, Mr. Davenport served as Sunday school teacher, men's usher, trustee, and church treasurer. The Davenports were blessed with 61 years of marriage, 3 sons, 1 daughter, 14 grandchildren, and 7 great-grandchildren. And whereas Mr. Davenport was a pillar of the Fourth Ward community, serving as a U.S. Postal Service letter carrier on a route predominantly located in the Fourth Ward of Montclair for almost 25 years. Shortly after retiring from the U.S. Postal Service, Mr. Davenport decided to continue his service to Montclair by way of a taxi service. Deeport Taxi, Inc. was established, and Mr. Davenport began providing taxi service full-time in 1990. Deeport was a constant present at Bloomfield Avenue taxi stand and was one of the few Black-owned businesses of its time. Mr. Davenport was a proud proprietor of Deeport Taxi for over 40 years. And whereas Mr. Davenport loves being part of the diverse fabric of Montclair, his many decades of service and contributions to the community is a testament to his love for helping people and willingness to serve. And now, therefore, the mayor and council of the Township of Montclair hereby recognize the remarkable contributions of Shirley William Davenport over the course of his career, express the thanks of a grateful community for the life and service of Mr. Davenport, and extends its sympathy to his widow, Letitia, sons Ronald, Reginald, Roger, daughter Sharon, and his many family friends who will cherish his memory. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have a proclamation for Italian American Heritage Month. Can I ask our Deputy Mayor Hurlock, and also Councilman Yacovelis to do the honors on that one?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Yacovelis, why don't you start and I'll finish.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. This is an honor for me. 115 years ago, last week, my great-great-grandfather came over from Italy my namesake, Peter Marsala. So I'm honored to read this in honor of him and all of my great-grandparents who emigrated here back in that time. Whereas over 5.4 million Italian Americans immigrated to the United States between 1820 and 1992. Today, there are over 26 million Americans of Italian descent in the United States, of which 2 million reside in New Jersey. Italian Americans have made significant contributions to our social, cultural, and economic life, and the Italian American community enjoys a rich history rooted in an ancient civilization that has had a profound influence on every aspect of our society. Our nation was even named after an Italian, the explorer and geographer Amerigo Vespucci. And whereas bound by enduring values of faith and family, Italian Americans have flourished in all areas of our public and economic life while preserving their proud Italian traditions. Upon arrival to the United States, the Italian American community faced racial, social, and religious discrimination. Yet Italian Americans have persevered with hope and hard work to reach for the American dream and helped build our great country. Turn it over to you, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Iacobellis. I'll continue. Whereas the legacy of these intrepid immigrants is found today in the millions of American men, women, and children of Italian descent who strengthen and enrich our country. Italian Americans operate thriving businesses, teach our children, serve at all levels of government, and succeed in countless occupations. Drawing on the courage and principles of their ancestors, they lead in every facet of American life, dedicating their knowledge and skills to the growth of our country. Now, therefore, the Mayor and Council of the Township of Montclair do hereby recognize the rich heritage of Americans of Italian descent, celebrate their immeasurable contributions to our nation, and proclaim October 2020 as Italian American Heritage Month. We call upon all Americans to learn more about the history of Italian Americans and observe this month with appropriate programs and activities, and I proudly so move.
Second.
And I also have to say, Mr. Mayor, if you'll indulge me for a moment, along the lines with Mr. Iacobellis, my great-grandfather, Emilio Truppi, came over August 26, 1902, aboard the SS Trave to Ellis Island, as did all of my mother's family, actually. Her maiden name is Della Poli. Very proud of my heritage, and I know Mr. Russo and also Ms. Schleger are also of Italian heritage, and I'm proud to serve with all four of us of Italian heritage. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you to both gentlemen. Appreciate that.
Mr. Mayor, since I didn't want to read because I can't say anything, but let me just shout out to Aquilonia, our sister city of Aquilonia. We didn't put it in our resolution, but I want to thank Raphael Marzullo and the Marzullo family for bringing us into a relationship as a sister city with Aquilonia, Italy. Just wanted to add that and thank my colleagues for the reading, and we'll do something maybe earlier next year. But thank you, Raphael Marzullo and the Aquilonia Sister City effort, which Bill Perlock and I've been involved with for quite a few years. Thank you, Mayor.
Excellent. Thank you. Without objection, both of our proclamations will be accepted. Thank you. And now we also have a proclamation for National Substance Abuse Prevention Month. Mr. Deputy Mayor, would you be willing to read that as well, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I also want to give a shout out to Pamela Citron, who is the board chair of the Global Recovery Initiative Foundation, which I'm also proud to be a board member. Ms. Citron is a longstanding resident in Montclair and has done a lot for her community. With that said, I'll now read the proclamation. National Substance Abuse Prevention Month. Whereas, as our nation continues its unprecedented fight against the coronavirus pandemic, the Mayor and Council of the Township of Montclair are acutely aware of how isolation affects mental health and can encourage the misuse of legal and illegal substances. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services reports that approximately 23 million people in the United States age 12 or older annually use illicit drugs. And whereas millions of Americans, including those from Montclair, suffer from substance use disorders, which include underage drinking, alcohol dependency, non-medical use of prescription drugs, abuse of over-the-counter medications, and illicit drug use. And whereas prevention strategies targeting the root of these dependency problems are essential to curb drug use and help people lead healthier lives, an early intervention can prevent substance abuse and reduce the negative consequences of addiction before they occur. And whereas the mayor and council are advancing initiatives to address substance abuse through collaborative, community-based efforts, we are strengthening the support systems that deter members of our community from drug use and improve overall mental health and wellness. And whereas the Municipal Alliance Committee of Montclair and the Municipal Alliances for the Prevention of Alcoholism and Drug Abuse across New Jersey facilitate community-based partnerships that involve youth, parents, educators, concerned citizens, and government officials who work to strengthen resources that can help keep our residents away from drug consumption. And whereas in stigma-free Montclair, we foster an environment where people are free from judgment and are offered the help they need to recover from their dependencies without feelings of shame, embarrassment, distress, or hopelessness, and they're encouraged to seek or accept help so they can lead productive lives. Now, therefore, the mayor and council of the Township of Montclair hereby proclaim October 2020 as Substance Abuse Prevention Month in Montclair, and we acknowledge the grief felt by families and friends of our community who have had loved ones struggling with substance abuse. We thank the many volunteers of the Montclair Municipal Alliance Network for their dedication and perseverance, and recognize them for their invaluable contributions to the Montclair community. And I so move, Mr. Mayor.
Sir?
Second.
Moved and second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you to you all. Next, we will move into public comment for our meeting. In an effort to minimize exposure to COVID-19 and to maintain social distancing practices, this meeting of the Township Council and further meetings until the pandemic is over will only be available to the public remotely. Those who wish to participate now during public comment, as well as later in the meeting during the public hearings for ordinances on second reading, should dial 408-418-9388. When asked to enter an access code, please enter 173-684-6399 and then press pound. When asked to enter an attendee number, please press pound. And simply, when asked to enter your name, please state your name and press pound. The administrator will say when it's the caller's turn to speak, and the caller will then hear two beeps. At that time, the caller will have an opportunity to make his or her comments. Mr. Stafford, Mr. Fan, I'll turn that over to you to facilitate public comment. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mayor. The first caller tonight has a number starting with 952239. Caller with the number starting 952239. It is your turn to speak. Please state your name for the record and keep your comments to less than 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Peter Holm. I live in the 2nd Ward. I'm one of the organizers of Quiet Montclair, which is a group of residents that seeks to reduce the use of gas leaf blowers in the community. We've appreciated the opportunity over the past several weeks to meet with several council members to brief you on this issue, and we've created a website, quietmontclair.org, to help educate people about 3 main concerns. 1, the threats that these machines pose to our community's health. 2, the environmental damage that they cause. And 3, the disruptions that they create on a daily basis for residents who are trying to work from home, attend remote school, or simply exercise their right to quiet enjoyment of their own homes. Tonight, I'd like to highlight just one specific and timely concern in light of the resurgence of COVID-19, which is the health risk that gas leaf blowers pose through their emissions. These machines emit enormous amounts of fine particulate matter, which can linger in the air for days. And this is in addition to other toxic compounds known to cause cancer, as well as extreme noise that can cause hearing loss in a matter of minutes. Of course, it's the operators of these machines who are the most vulnerable, but other community members are also exposed, often unwillingly and secondhand. Earlier this year, researchers at the Harvard School of Public Health released a nationwide study showing a clear connection between long-term exposure to fine particulate matter in the air and an increase in community death rates from COVID-19. This is consistent with a large body of research linking chronic exposure to fine particulates with cardiovascular disease, lung disease, and increased severity of communicable respiratory diseases like the flu and pneumonia, among other things. When the use of gas-powered leaf blowers in our neighborhoods, our parks, around our schools remains virtually unfettered, everyone in the community is put at greater risk. Today, cleaner, safer, effective alternatives to gas-powered leaf blowers are readily available. This includes battery electric machines whose effectiveness and price have rapidly and dramatically improved in recent years. Quiet Montclair would like to see the township join a rising number of communities around the country who have recognized that the time for meaningful, practical action on this issue is right now. Our group plans to bring forward a set of proposals for your consideration in the coming weeks that will reflect the many comments and concerns that residents from all 4 wards are sending us through our website, and we invite more. We look forward to working with you to address this problem expeditiously, including through more effective enforcement of the law. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, caller with the number starting 201-921. It is your turn to comment. 201-921. Please state your name and do your best to keep your comments below 3 minutes. Thank you.
Yes, good evening. I hope you're all doing well today on October 27th of 2020. My name is Ahava Felicidad. I'm the president of the Tenants Organization of Montclair Advocacy Group, established in April of 2019. My family's been in town since the 60s. I was born in Mount Side Hospital. I went to Glenfield for preschool. I went to Northeast. I've talked about this before. I love global studies. I went to Buzz Aldrin, Montclair High at Temple University. I came back home because I love it here. Many people feel the same way about this amazing township, not wanting to leave or coming here and loving here and wanting to stay. Montclair's always been a special place. This place births greatness, and the Montclair experience is like none other in this country. People should feel safe here. However, we're not stigma-free. We're not free from stigma. We actually have people here that make a lot of judgments about tenants all the time, saying disparaging things to them and about them, like take your BMW back if you can't afford to pay more rent. It's just crazy. So I have a question that the public may also be wondering. Did they, the MPOA, file for an extension to cure their unverifiable petitions while they were being checked? If so, why did they have to do that if they had all the confirmed signatures? Back a few months ago, they were in the news bragging about all the signatures they had gathered, that yet they needed an extension. Now you have all these petitions that are not authentic, non-certifiable, not real people from this township, in a real town where there are real people who really care about rent control. For all the reasons we've talked about it, presented on it, put it in flyers, we'll continue posting, otherwise advertising awareness of our rent control ordinance. Money can't buy rent control opposition. If so many people are against rent control in Montclair, then why didn't they make their mark the first time with an extension? I'm used to being in the first row, so I'll answer my own question. Because there are more supporters of rent control than they choose to believe, and their efforts will continue to help us with our rent control implementation. Thank you, Council. Close to 44% of Montclair residents are renters, and we're gaining homeowner support, obviously. Loads of homeowner supporters were even on the April 7 call. I'd like to note that it's my understanding that Montclair was established in April of 1868, 152 years from April of 2020. And this is the first time in our history that there has been an approved rent control ordinance in our township pending implementation. We urge everyone out there that's having any concerns. I was even on calls today about renters receiving increases and leases with a 35% increase, $400, to reach out to us at Tenants Organization Montclair at gmail.com. Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Caller with the number starting 201-463. 201-463. It is now your time to comment. Please state your name for the record and do your best to keep your comments under 3 minutes.
Hi, good evening. My name is Keisha Trotman. I reside in the 2nd Ward on Central Avenue. This evening, I'm coming before you just to ask for you to assisting reconsidering the enforcement of the parking restriction, that is starting on November 1st. I am in a portion of town and on Central Avenue where I do not have a driveway. So I'm also working from home. Having to park on the street during the day could pose an economic hardship. I understand that there are going to be adjustments to this to make sure that on my portion of the street that we will be able to park during the day. But this is really an unfortunate time for the parking authority to be trying to enforce parking restrictions during the day, especially for those of us that are working from home. The governor has extended the public health emergency. We're still in a pandemic, and many of us who don't have parking in terms of driveways or garages don't have anywhere to go. So I'm respectfully asking that the Township Council reconsider and possibly extend the courtesy for those of us that are working from home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Caller with the number starting 908-463. 908-463. It is your turn to comment. Please state your name for the record and do your best to keep your comments under 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Kyle Rosenkrantz. I live at 36 Central Avenue here in Montclair. I'm also a parent of a student of the local elementary school. I share the same concerns as my neighbor, Ms. Trotman, who spoke earlier. We're all here working from home, and the enforcement of the parking rules is a considerable hardship for those of us who don't have driveways in our house and rely on our on-street parking permits. So I ask you respectfully reconsider that rule and provide for those of us, especially those who don't have driveways and rely upon those on-street parking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Caller with the number starting 917-536. It is your turn to comment. 917-536. Please state your name and do your best to keep your comments below 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is June Regner. I live at 49 North Mountain Avenue. I noticed on your agenda that you are considering purchasing 57 Park Street, which is assessed at $755,800 tonight for $1.35 million, almost twice its assessment. When the property next door sold recently at a similar number to the assessment. It's very important that you take your fiduciary duties to our municipality, including be responsible stewards of our finance, to be spending this enormous amount of money for a property with a modest building that you're going to tear down just to put up a parking lot. I urge you to be much more responsible stewards of our finances. Thank you.
Mayor, there are no other callers in the queue for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Stafford. Specifically, we will have action on the one item last, so we'll address that then. Mr. Stafford, would you kindly just for a moment speak to for the two of the callers who had the parking questions? I know obviously with COVID, there's been a lot of allowances that you've put forward to try and alleviate some of the challenges, but obviously, you know, the financial situation that we're facing. Could you please address the parking briefly?
Certainly. Well, the township took the extraordinary action back in late March of suspending enforcement of overnight parking, as well as of 1 hour, 2 hour, and 4 hour restricted parking. Additionally, the township took the action to suspend enforcement of meter collection. So for the months of March, April, and May, There was no meter collection whatsoever. There was parking at meters for no charge, and there was no enforcement of 1 hour, 2 hour, and 4 hour on-street parking in zones designated by ordinance as such. And there was also overnight parking enforcement suspended. In June, we took the action to have, by the way, there was also no permit charging for the months of March, April, and May as well. In June, we continued the points that I previously referenced, and permit charges were at 25%. In July, the enforcement was continued to be suspended, and the permit charges were 50%. In August, the permit charges were 75%, with everything else remaining status quo. In September, permit charges returned to 100%. Everything else, though, remained status quo. And only recently did we announce that as of November 1st, the 1 hour, 2 hour, and 4 hour and overnight parking would resume enforcement of those points. This is the result of a significant amount of calls that have come from homeowners townwide asking for the ending of those suspensions and also an analysis with respect to what it has done on the permit and meter side with respect to revenue.
Thank you for addressing it. Thank you for some of the actions that you took there. Appreciate it. Moving through to the next item, Madam Clerk, we do have a pending ordinance for second reading. Would you please read that ordinance?
Thank you, Mayor. Item A is Ordinance O-20-21, amending the Affordable Housing Ordinance of the Township of Montclair to establish a rental assistance program for very low-income tenants and eligible rental units. I wish to report that the ordinance has been published and posted, and copies have been made available to the public by the clerk's office as required by law.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to be heard on this ordinance? Again, you would please dial 408-418-9388. Enter access code 173-684-6399. Anyone to be heard on this ordinance?
Mayor, there is no one in the queue.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. With that, I will turn it over to my colleagues. Any comment on this pending ordinance? Seeing none, hearing none, Madam Clerk, I'll ask you to call the roll.
Do I have a movement and a second?
Yes, it's been moved and seconded, I believe, first of it. We can move it on second reading. Ordinance 0-20-21. So moved.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Hurlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
Yes.
Counselor Schlager?
Yes.
Counselor Yacobelis? Counselor Yacobelis?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 0-20-22, which is an ordinance to amend chapter 202 of the Land Use Procedures, Article 3, and I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Stafford, would you like to speak to this for a moment, please?
I can do so, Mayor. On November 18th of 2019, to discourage unnecessary demolition of historic structures, the governing body adopted Ordinance O-20-21, amending Chapter 347, Article 23, Historic Preservation, and Chapter 202, Land Use Procedures of the Township Code. That amending ordinance established procedures and criteria for total demolition approval, including review to be conducted by the Historic Preservation Officer and the Historic Preservation Commission of applications for total demolition of the historic structure. There are presently, though, no fees required for that application review. The ordinance in this item would establish a fee of $200 for the application and also would set $350 as an initial escrow deposit against which fees for township professional services required to review and analyze such an application would be drawn. This draft ordinance was reviewed by the Economic Development Committee at its September 17th meeting and was recommended by the committee for full consideration by this governing body.
Thank you, sir. Questions, concerns, or comments on this ordinance? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilor Cummings,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock,
Yes.
Councilor Price Abrams,
Yes.
Councilor Russo,
Yes.
Councilor Schlager,
Yes.
Councilor Yacobelis,
Yes.
Mayor Spiller,
Yes. All right, thank you very much. Next, we have an ordinance authorizing the acquisition of property known as 57 Park Street, and I so move.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Stafford, I will ask you to speak to this one as well.
Certainly, sir. The item is an ordinance that would authorize the acquisition of property commonly known as 57 Park Street for public purposes at a purchase price not to exceed $1.35 million, as well as up to $50,000 for expenses incidental to the acquisition and subject to the satisfaction of appropriate contingencies as determined by township officials.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. And certainly, while not getting into the confidential nature of ongoing negotiations like any purchase of property, as people know when they're buying their homes, there's a process that occurs. Despite that, as the caller raised an issue, I will address it. I certainly will say this for everybody on the former councils for the last 8 years, and certainly those who are serving here now. We have been absolutely proud of the fiscal management, which we've been able to reduce the debt in this town by over $60 million since taking office, an unprecedented amount. We've improved our credit rating to a AAA rating, saving millions of dollars to taxpayers, including annual costs that we've been able to reinvest in so many different pieces. So the notion of good fiscal stewardship, in some ways I have to smile in that that is what has been a cornerstone of the work that we have done, and we will continue to engage in practices that move us along that path. And I'm confident that all my colleagues here are out of that same mold, and everything we've done so far speaks to that. So with that, any questions, concerns, comments from my council members on this ordinance? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please.
Cummings, Councilor Cummings,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock,
Yes.
Councilor Price Abrams,
Yes.
Councilor Russo,
Yes, I support this as an investment in the future of Montclair to be used for various programs and services. Yes, thank you.
Councilor Schlager,
Yes.
Councilor Yacobelis,
Yes.
Mayor Spiller.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we have our consent agenda, which are items 1 through 9. Is there anyone who wishes to, 7 has been withdrawn. Is there anyone who wishes to have any items withheld? Hearing none, I so move items 1 through 9 on the consent agenda, again with number 7 being withdrawn. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilor Cummings,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock,
Yes.
Councilor Price Abrams,
Yes.
Councilor Russo,
Yes.
Councilor Schlager,
Yes.
Councilor Yacobelis,
Yes.
Mayor Spiller.
Yes. Excuse me. Next, we have a resolution ratifying the emergency expenditure for the replacement of a boiler at the DCS Administration Building, which is at 219 North Fullerton Avenue, and I so move.
Second?
It's moved and seconded. Mr. Stafford, would you care to give us a little of the update on that piece, please?
Of course. Item 10 is a resolution that would retroactively authorize and ratify an agreement with GPH Incorporated of Livingston, New Jersey, for the emergency installation of a boiler at our Department of Community Services Administration building. More particularly, the existing 42-year-old boiler stopped functioning, was at, of course, 42 years old, beyond its useful life, and could not be repaired. Resultantly, given the time of the year, the department declared an emergency and engaged in the subject contract to ensure sufficient heating required for those working in the building. The total cost of the emergency expenditure is $40,510.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, concerns, comments on this resolution? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Councillor Cummings,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock,
Yes.
Councillor Price Abrams,
yes,
Councillor Russo,
Yes.
Councillor Schlager, Councillor Schlager,
Oh, yes, sorry.
Councillor Yacobelis,
Yes.
Mayor Spiller.
Yes, thank you. Next is Resolution R-20-172, which is a resolution authorizing the suspension of meter collection on Saturday, November 28th for Small Business Saturday during the holiday shopping period. I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Stafford, this is something I know that we've done for quite some time, but could you speak to it briefly?
Certainly. As you said, Mayor, item 11 is a resolution that would, as is done annually at this time of the year, authorize the suspension of meter collection and allow for 2 hours of free parking at metered spaces throughout the township on Small Business Saturday. This year, that is Saturday, November 28th, and during the 2020 holiday season period from Sunday, November 29 through and including Sunday, December 26. But please, the public should be aware that parking beyond the 2-hour period will subject the vehicle to a violation notice if the meter isn't fed, as maximum parking time limits of 2 hours for free will be strictly enforced.
Yes, sir. Any questions, concerns, comments? Hearing none, Madam Clerk?
Councillor Cummings, Councillor Cummings,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock,
Yes.
Councillor Price Abrams,
yes,
Councillor Russo,
Yes. Yes.
Councillor Schlager,
Yes.
Councillor Yacobelis,
No.
Mayor Spiller.
Yes. And Mr. Stafford, we certainly thank you and your team for continuing to try and look at items like this to offer incentives for people to come into Montclair. And our businesses look forward to this every year to try and entice people to come in. So thank you for those efforts. Next, we have the bill resolution. I will ask that our second ward Councilman Schlager, would you please do the honors?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Whereas invoices against the Township of Montclair in favor of the following persons for the amounts set opposite their respective names have been received, duly audited, and found correct. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the Township of Montclair in the County of Essex that said invoices be, and they are hereby ordered paid, and that checks be drawn by the Finance Department to the order of such persons for the amounts respectively, and hereinafter stated on the computer printout attached hereto and made part hereof. This bill list is dated October 27, 2020, the amount of $7,039,019.06, and I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions, concerns, or comments?
I have a couple of questions.
Please, Councilwoman.
Okay. Let me see if I see page numbers here. Check for Amelia Gencarelli. It says a blanket. I guess
Hold on 1 second, Councilwoman. Would everyone please just mind muting? Because I heard a lot of papers, but I didn't hear the Councilwoman's page and some other things. I'm not sure if everyone else experienced the same thing. Do you mind repeating yourself, Councilwoman
Yeah.
Schlager?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I don't see page numbers on this, unless it's with the staple. Wait one sec. Oh, yes, it's stapled, sorry. So it's page, let's see. I'm gonna staple out, I'm sorry. It's right on the numbers. Oh my goodness. Page 26. It's so tiny. There's a payment to an Emilio Giancarelli. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am. That payment, I understand. That payment is for health benefits to make the employee whole, consistent with the bargaining agreement retirement benefits that he's entitled to.
Okay. Okay, and then I had another question. I'm sorry, my papers are. There was another on page 20, at page 14 of 20, page 14. There's a payment to a company called Prop and Spoon for $14,857.
Yes, ma'am. Those are COVID-19 related, the invoices for COVID-19 related purchases. In and around municipal buildings like the one I'm sitting in now, you'll see signs like "Do not enter this entrance. You must go to the front entrance. Stand here. No exit. One way. 6 feet distance maintained required, etc. At all of our buildings for employees and for ultimately the public, or like let's say for Election Day next Tuesday, that invoice is for that.
Okay. That's good to know. I'm glad that we have those. That's good. Also, there was a payment for the Montclair Early Childhood Court for $139,000. Is that the community pre-K?
Yes, ma'am, and it's half the year's payment.
Okay. Okay, it's just, I guess their title, their legal title is different than their working title. Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Stafford.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other questions, concerns, comments?
May I ask one of the manager as well? There was just a payment to the Township of Nutley. It's a reimbursement of some sort. I just wondered if you could enlighten us about what that was.
The Township of Montclair, by way of shared services agreements, provides health services to 3 other municipalities, Verona, Cedar Grove, and Nutley. The township makes applications for New Jersey associations of city and county health organizations, otherwise known as NACHO. And when the township receives a grant, it proportionally, based on population as well as other determining factors, it's split between the township and its 3 serviced agencies. That's Nutley's share. And more particularly, Nutley, in a COVID-19 related instance, bought an LED sign in a cabinet and also sinks and hand wash basins to combat COVID-19.
So this is reimbursing them for a payment against what we would otherwise be taking?
No, this is their share of the grant that we applied to NACHO for. And this is, they get it. We make application because we're their servicing agent.
Okay.
So when we get the grants, we divvy out the other municipalities that we serve by their percentage that they are owed.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions, Councilwoman?
Thanks.
Okay, great. Any other questions, concerns, comments? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Counselor Cummings,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock,
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams,
Yes.
Counselor Russo,
Yes.
Counselor Schlager,
Yes.
Counselor Yacobelis,
Yes.
Mayor Spiller.
Yes. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to go to any comments. Mr. Scantlebury, anything from you today? Deputy Manager?
No report, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Township Attorney, Mr. Karasik?
Nothing, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go with the Township Manager, Mr. Stafford.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a few comments, but I will be brief. As you know, Election Day is Tuesday, November 3rd, and the following information is provided by our Essex County Clerk, Christopher Durkin. Polling hours on Election Day will be from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. There will be no electronic voting machines at polling places on Election Day. None. No electronic voting machines. One can vote in one of only 3 ways at one's polling place on Election Day. Number 1, vote on a provisional paper ballot. Number 2, if one is disabled, vote utilizing the audio component to listen to the ballot and then make selections on a handheld device. Or number 3, bring your vote by mail ballot to one's polling place and drop the voted ballot in a secure drop box inside that polling place. And as of this morning, the county announced that Montclair residents have cast 16,553 ballots. 16,553. Our Montclair Fire Department is once again teaming up with St. James Episcopal Church for their annual coat drive. Gently used coats for men, women, and children can be dropped off at the following locations through November 15th. St. James Episcopal Church, of course, at 581 Valley Road, and our 3 fire department stations. Our headquarters at 1 Pine Street, Fire Station 2 at 588 Valley Road, and finally Fire Station 3, which is at 151 Harrison Avenue. For more information, one may contact St. James Church at 973-744-0270, extension 10. Our Department of Recreation and Cultural Affairs, led by Councilwoman Schlager, invites kids to create a funny, spooky, or festive Halloween fall poster or dream catcher. The contest is open to all Montclair children up to age 17. All artwork will be judged and prizes awarded in 3 age categories. All participants will receive a special treat. Posters and dream catchers will be displayed in the windows at the Montclair Municipal Building. And if one comes to the parking lot to drop off one's mail-in ballot, you can see that there are several already posted in our municipal building windows. One may bring their creative artwork to our recreation department here at the municipal building by no later than the close of business on Thursday. That's October 29th. When you arrive at the municipal building, please call 973-509-4915. Again, 973-509-4915. And a recreation department staff member will come outside and pick up your delivery. Montclair property owners are reminded that fourth quarter property taxes are now due. The 10-day grace period ends on November 10th. And given, of course, the CDC recommendations to take extra precautions against COVID-19 exposure, the township reminds everyone that property tax and utility bills can be paid online. The township has eliminated the e-check fee, transaction fee, and to pay your tax, sewer, or water bill online, you can see our website where information for what to click is available. That's all I have at this time, Mayor.
Thank you very much, sir. I will note, Councilwoman Schlager, thank you for working on that project. Appreciate that. And not to blow him up there, but I saw our deputy manager out there taking a look at the artwork so far, and with appreciation, he was going through, looking at him, saying, how much he loved them. So it's being appreciated already. So kudos there. Next, I will go to our township clerk, Madam Clerk.
I have nothing, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I will go to my council colleagues. Let's go with our Deputy Mayor, First Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to point out that we had a small ribbon cutting ceremony over at Tourist Park last week that went very well. A lot of work went into that park over the last year or so. Want to thank everyone who helped with that project, Mr. Steve Wood, Mr. Rob Bianco, of course, and Mr. Tim Stafford, Mr. Brian Scantleberry, our friends over at the Park and Rec office there. I want to thank all of them, Michelle Camerata, as well as Garland Thornton. It was a well done project. It came out great. It's another gem in the first ward and in town. And of course, now more than ever, we need our parks. And this is a nice respite for people to attend to. Look forward to continuing the discussions that we've been having now on a bi-weekly basis with the business owners, trying to assist as we can as we go through the pandemic. Obviously, Mr. Mayor, you're part of those calls, as is Mr. Jacobellis. Look forward to continuing to work in cooperation with that group and with all the business leaders in the business community as well. And just wish everyone be safe, listen to the guidelines, wear the mask, social distance, because all indications are things are going and have already started to uptick. So please be safe and careful out there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, absolutely, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Absolutely true. Let's go to our second ward, Councilwoman Schlager.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have to give a special shout out to the Montclair High School Skateboard Club. I passed the skate park over at the Rand's, across from Renaissance at Rand School, a couple of times a week, and I have to say how impressed I am with the skateboarders and how they're just great kids, and they're doing a great job there. Every Saturday they have a girls' skate time, and they have lessons. They have a mentoring program with younger skaters. They're just doing a great job, and it's so nice to see all these kids. There's also equally so many young people playing basketball. It's almost like a little sports complex there. It's just so great to see. But also I did see that I wasn't able to attend, but I did see that Mayor Spiller talked about that the skateboard club had a breast cancer awareness event. They gave out pink candy and pink ribbons and pink masks, and these kids are just doing a great job there. And it's a nice place for kids to gather, especially during these times when it's nice for them to get out in the fresh air. So I hope they continue that. I hope the weather stays as warm as it has, so they could all be out there enjoying all the sports. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Now, I know at the ribbon cutting, they got me on the skateboard. Have you, on all your trips by, jumped on a skateboard there to give it a shot?
No, I have not. Although Saturdays are a girls' skating time. Maybe I don't know, maybe Saturday
Right.
being Halloween, maybe I'll go over.
There we go. Third ward, Councilwoman Price Abrams.
Thank you, Mayor. Less about the ward, I guess, but Councilor Schlager's comment reminded me, another community of students that I just wanted to acknowledge, which is the School of Visual and Performing Arts, the SVPA students at Montclair High School. They overcame their own sort of odds. They hoped to do their regular fall performance, and they couldn't do it as would typically be happening. And so they conducted it outdoors at the amphitheater on the campus. And, it's very important. And I give the students the credit for the initiative it took to get that done. My other two comments are sort of focused on the month of November, and one being the election. We've heard a bunch about that already, but it's just so front and center. We have one last week to make sure that everybody who can vote does take advantage of that opportunity. The manager provided us with the most recent data, but when I had looked at data from a couple of days ago, I was able to sort of just crunch out that about 93% of people from Montclair who had turned their ballots in already had done it using the box right at Town Hall. And, it just really demonstrates how easy that is to do. It's been effective. We all have gotten something in the mail indicating that it has been received. People should just feel really confident that whether they choose that, they put it in the mail, or they show up in one of the ways described on Election Day, there's nothing more important than, being heard with their vote. for the election. And then the other point, which a little bit also amplifies on something that the deputy mayor mentioned in terms of COVID and staying the course, we of course know there's something of an uptick. And with Thanksgiving coming, it's a bit on the horizon. Just know again that the county is still offering free testing, and there's multiple sites that you can find on the EssexCountyNJ.org website. Plan your trip, or if you're going to be seeing family, I'm thinking about how we can do this with, I have a kid or two out of state. How do we do this most safely? How do we maybe get everybody tested? So things that people should begin to be planful about. Thank you.
Councilwoman, Fourth Ward, Councilman Cummings.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I want to give a big shout out to a group of young men that I met back in September called the Young Black Fathers. They had a kickball tournament for their family and friends, in which they also put on voter registration, census drive, and gave out backpacks. And this Saturday, they're having a fish fry at Glenfield Park, getting everybody together. And Mayor, you've been invited to talk about, to make sure that everybody's ready to vote on Tuesday. That was the purpose. But at the same time, they've also reached out to some individuals. And next week, they're having a COVID testing at the Park House on Thursday. And on Friday, they have a reentry job specialist coming in to offer opportunities for ex-offenders. These young men have really done an outstanding job just reaching out to leaders. And I just can't say how proud I am of how in a short period of time, they've really, really identified some concerns, and to the point where they have also put on their agenda to start getting folks to understand the importance of this potential referendum on rent control. Many of them are renters. And so, it just warms my heart to see the effort that they put together. And I really look forward to Saturday hanging out with them.
Excellent. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you there. Next, I'll go to our at-larges. So let's go with Councilman Russo.
Thank you, Mayor. Not much voice left because I've been making calls to Atlantic County for my friend Amy Kennedy. I think everybody should know that this is a great month. It's my birthday today, and I'm wearing my tie it's a pumpkin tie for Halloween. I wish everybody a good, safe Halloween. Kids are going to do something maybe that they possibly shouldn't do, but parents, if you're overseeing that, be very careful this year. We're not canceling Halloween, but just be cautious. Enjoy the month of October. It's a great month. I just want to tell everybody that the turnout, I've been studying this for years, the turnout is so enormous, especially people using that drop box at the town hall. That's how my wife and I voted. We're going to exceed 20,000, 22,000 maybe in Montclair. It's a tremendous turnout. It's even higher percentage-wise in the city of Newark, with the highest turnout percentage-wise of any town in Essex County. So please, as a political science professor, I'm urging everyone to get out and vote ahead of time, not wait till November 3rd, vote ahead of time. Just hope we can deal with these folks who are living at home and working from home on needs for parking. So I hope we can address that call from Ms. Trotman and her neighbors. And then, of course, the leaf blowers are still making a lot of noise, which is causing people who work from home to get really upset. And I hope we can address that. And then the tenants who called in and were concerned, tenant leaders concerned, I really want to say again, as a consumer leader who's taught and worked in the field of consumer affairs all my life, I've never seen such fraudulent behavior by those who are promoting a referendum that doesn't help renters and tenants, that actually hurts us and takes back the advance and progress that we made under this mayor and council. We made a major effort to protect tenants, and especially in a time that's difficult. So despite my voice being, I get strong when I talk about things I believe in. I hope we can all pull together, work together as we're being attacked from all ends with problems, and this COVID is continuing. So let's all stick together, work together. Montclair is unique, and Montclair is a leader, and we're progressive and we're positive. Let's just stick together and get through these struggles into the new year. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Yacovelis.
Bob, did you say it was your birthday today?
Yeah, 73.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I don't
Thank you,
hide it
Mayor.
anymore.
Happy birthday.
I wish I was
birthday, Bob.
37. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want a couple shout outs and then two quick things. A week ago, one street north of my house, we had a house fire, and one street south of my house, we had a shooting. So it just, it makes it really acute, the reality of what it means to have really good first response services in our town. So a real shout out to Chief Conforti and Chief Herman. I had to speak with both of them that day because we were alarmed by what was kind of happening right around us. So just a shout out to Montclair's bravest and Montclair's finest for everything they do during a pandemic and not during a pandemic. Look, I know there's a lot of tumult in town over a few issues. I want to, just ask for cooler heads to prevail and for everyone to assume positive intent, especially when it comes to schools reopening. I've spoken to Dr. Pons. He's a really good man with a really good heart and a really good skill set and doing a great job, I think. And I think it's, there is no one in this country with the experience of running a school district and trying to reopen it during a pandemic. Absolutely no one has that experience. So I really want to just encourage everyone to, come to the table assuming positive intent and to listen and to be patient, knowing that answers to questions are coming. I've certainly seen that. And look, Deputy Mayor Herlock called us out earlier. The second wave is here. Some people call it a third wave, but the surge in COVID is here. It's not some, future date or future thought. And so I think we need to, as a community, just be thinking about seniors immediately and what they need, and continue to do what we can, as also as the Deputy Mayor mentioned, in terms of, supporting the businesses. So the last thing I will mention is a shout out for our ongoing campaign, Love Our Montclair, which I really appreciate that has seen such support across the community. We have several thousand impressions on social media using the hashtag. We have banners now going up in all the business districts, thanks to the mayor, deputy mayor, and my colleagues for agreeing to take actions like that. So just overall, thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I will just quickly note for emphasis on 3 points. Certainly, those are the things that I think are front of mind for everyone. It's COVID, and it's voting. It's first and foremost around COVID. Important for us to stay safe, as was noted, and as it relates to my third item, which is just being safe as we approach and get into the holidays here. It's important to stay safe, whether it be Halloween and the activities that we're engaging in there. Do it in a safe way. Participate in the contest that Councilwoman Schlager helped us do some other things that keep it fun, keep it safe for everyone. As the Deputy Mayor noted, wear a mask. As Councilwoman Price Abrams noted, we have been partnering with the county and also the state. The governor's been great in terms of doing testing here in Montclair. Lots of testing and testing throughout the county. Take advantage of that. We've seen on every level, though, the testing is not something that prevents you from getting the virus. So follow the safety procedures that are in place wherever you can. Take advantage of the testing as well. That will help. And of course, make sure everything that you engage in is with a mindset on the fact that we are in that next wave, as Councilman Jacobellis noted, and it's important for us to do all we can here in Montclair. With regard to voting, that's the topic everyone is talking about now. Certainly, we've seen extensive use of the drop box at Town Hall, which is excellent. Certainly, you can drop your ballot in the mail. The state has the system in place to have you track your ballot. The county's sending out information to make sure it's received. So all of these pieces are in place. As was noted, though, let's continue that trend. As Councilman Russo noted, we've got the numbers that are in. Mr. Stafford noted those and what we're on track to do. But let's not take anything for granted. Whatever your views are, wherever you're going, get out there, vote, submit that ballot, make sure that we get those in. So that's important work going on there, and I wanted to note that. And of course, as we talk about whatever support are out there with our residents, businesses, otherwise, we're going to continue to do all we can as we unfortunately continue to be in the midst of a pandemic, right? That's what this is, and we're likely to be in it for quite some time. So I thank all my colleagues for the work that's been going on, and everyone on staff through you, Mr. Stafford. Appreciate those efforts. And with that, I bid everyone well wishes and a good night. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It's moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank
We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you, everyone. Be safe. Be well.
Careful.
Happy birthday, Bob.
Bob, you just
Thank you.
surpassed me.
Happy birthday, Russo.
Age.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Bob.